Hello, boys and girls. Mr. Palast here. I found the great Scooby Doo book for us. It's Scooby Doo and the Phantom Cowboy. Looks like a really good story. See Scooby and Shaggy looking awfully scared. So I'm excited to see what their adventure holds for them. Yee-haw! Shaggy cheered, waving his cowboy hat around. I'm like an old cowhand from the Rio Grande, y'all. Ree-raw! Scooby-Doo joined in, spinning his lasso. Scooby and his friends from Mystery Incorporated were headed to Phantom Glutch, a real-life western ghost town that had been turned into a theme park. But when the gang got to the Phantom Glutch, they got a big surprise. It was completely deserted. It really was a ghost town. Wow. Jeepers, Daphne exclaimed. Where is everybody? The gang didn't have to search for long. The remaining citizens of Phantom Glutch were hiding behind the general store. They were about to leave for good. Sorry, folks, said the town sheriff, Matt Taft. Some kind of ordinary ghost has been chasing everyone out of Phantom Glutch. He won't leave us be. That Phantom Cowboy is one mean feller, Gertie, the owner of the saloon, said, scowling. And if you know what's good for you, you'll skedaddle too. Ghost? Gulped Shaggy. Random Cowboy? Ruh-roh. Scooby didn't like the sound of that. The Phantom Cowboy has been bothering us for a couple of months. We had the worst haunting a few days ago. I reckon, explained Sheriff Matt. Sheriff Matt said that the creepy cowboy rode atop a wild, snorting ghost buffalo. He screamed like a crazy prairie coyote during a full moon. The visitors were so scared they all left in a hurry, and no one had come back since. You can't have a tourist attraction without tourists, Sheriff Matt said sadly. The owners of the town had to close down Phantom Glutch and sell the land to the rancher next door. Now we're all out of work thanks to that spooky sidewinder. Oh no. Come on, gang. Let's see if we can get to the bottom of the mystery, Fred suggested. It wasn't long before they spotted a man who owned the ranch right next door to Phantom Glutch. His name was Harry Parker, and he was busy trying to train one of the horses. Shucks, kids, them ghosts are mighty fearsome creatures. If I was you, I'd vamoose before they come back again, Mr. Parker exclaimed. They're always spooking my horses. Fred, Shaggy, and Scooby tried to make friends with Mr. Parker. Tried to make friends with Mr. Parker's horse, but it snorted and made like it was going to clobber them with its hooves. Zoinks! The horse is spooking me, Shaggy cried. Despite Mr. Parker's advice, the kids wanted to investigate Phantom Glutch, while the girls went to the courthouse to look for clues. The boys decided to check out the saloon, but on the way there, Scooby spotted something that really scared him. Roast racks, Scooby gulped, grabbed Shaggy, and pointed nervously. Roast rats, roast racks. Like racks of roast? Scooby said, as Shaggy laughed. Sounds delicious, where? Fred frowned. Not racks of rows, Shaggy. Ghost tracks. Zoinks! Scooby exclaimed. Meanwhile, the girls had found something interesting in the courthouse. After rummaging through an old roll-top desk, they discovered the deed to Phantom Glutch. That's strange. According to this, Mr. Parker bought the town last week and sold it to Mega Company Industry yesterday, Velma said. Now, why would he do that? Good question, Daphne answered. Let's go ask him. Daphne tried to open the door, but it wouldn't budge. Jeepers, it's locked. Just then, they heard the shuffle of feet on the other side of the door. Then came a low, ominous laugh. Someone or something that had trapped them inside. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, ha 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 ha. These are hoof prints, all right, Fred said as he inspected the tracks. They could belong to the ghost buffalo. Let's see where they lead. Let's not and say we did, Shaggy said hopefully. What do you say, Fred, old pal? Right, row, Shaggy echoed. Oddly enough, the tracks led right into the saloon. Once they saw there weren't any ghosts there, Shaggy and Scooby thought it was pretty cool to be in a real-life old western saloon. Barkeep, Shaggy joshed. We're two tough, ordinary hombres. Give us a couple of tall root beers, partner. Scooby giggled. Shaggy stopped goofing around and took a look upstairs. Fred said, grinning good-naturedly, maybe somebody left a clue in one of the boarding rooms. Well, sure thing, feller. Shaggy lifted the brim of his hat just like a real cowboy. Then he swaggered up the stairs to the second level. Glad to oblige you, old tenderfoot. Suddenly, the Phantom Cowboy came charging down the staircase, riding his ripped, snorting buffalo. Zoinks! The ghost! Run! Shaggy cried. He ran as fast as he could. Meanwhile, the Phantom Cowboy spun a lasso over his head. He was trying to rope Shaggy in. Shaggy ran down the stairs across the saloon floor and out through the double swinging doors. The fearsome ghouls followed close behind. Run, Raggy, run! Scooby hollered. Oh, that's a good friend right there. Now, look at Daphne. Daphne and Velma listened at the door till they heard the mysterious footsteps walk away. Then they knew they had to escape from the courthouse so they could warn the boys. Together, the two girls pushed the roll-top desk under the window. Then Daphne climbed on the top and up through the window. Velma clambered up after her. It's going to be dark soon, Velma said as they crawled out through the window. I want to find the guys before the sun sets. Just then, the ghost cowboy rode by his buffalo. Yee-haw! He cried, spurring his creepy creature onward. Growl! Like help! Shaggy was being pulled behind the buffalo, and it looked like a bumpy ride. Jinkies! Cried Velma. Fred and Scooby were chasing behind the Phantom Cowboy and his buffalo, trying to rescue Shaggy. The buffalo was fast, however. Just as they were turning a corner and about to disappear from sight, the cowboy turned and pointed at the rest of the gang. Leave here now! He called in a booming, eerie voice, or I'll come back for you. and get y'all. Oh. By the time the gang reached the corner, the Phantom Cowboy was gone. And so was Shaggy. Jeepers! Now what are we going to do? Daphne asked. Well, it's getting dark, Velma said. We can't very well look for Shaggy without some sort of light. I bet there's some lanterns in there. Fred pointed to an old blacksmith's burned down street. Let's take a look. Sure enough, they found a pair of lanterns, and soon they were glowing brightly. Scooby was feeling down. His best buddy in the whole world had been whisked away by a spooky desperado riding a buffalo. Velma tried to cheer him with Scooby snacks, but for once, Scooby wasn't in the mood. Don't worry, Scoob. Daphne patted him on the head. Now that we've got light, we're sure to find Shaggy. Scooby looked determined. Right, he barked, jumping to his feet. Soon he was hot on the trail of his kidnapped buddy. Where is he? It didn't take long for Scooby to catch Shaggy's scent. He bounded down the street after his friend. Look at Scooby go, Velma said, grinning. Why, I bet if he lived back in the Old West, he would have been a real trailblazer. Suddenly Scooby stopped. He found the clue. Renut Rudder and Relly Renrich. Rita's rags, Scooby declared proudly. Then he pointed down the street. Rich Ray. The gang cautiously followed Scooby to an old bakery and a tailor shop. If Shaggy was inside of one of them, then the ghost could be nearby too. Huh. I wonder what they see there. Well, we'll look in the tailor shop, Daphne said. You boys check out the bakery. She and Velma tiptoed to the front of the tailor shop, but just as they stepped inside, their lanterns blew out. Velma quickly pulled out a small box and fumbled for a match. Hurry, Velma! It's creepy in here without a light, Daphne whispered. Velma struck the match. In the sudden light, Daphne and Velma saw they were surrounded by strange figures. Jinkies! Velma cried. Then they saw the strangers were just tailor mannequins. Whew. All the same time, Scooby and Fred were searching the bakery for a sign of Shaggy. Fred checked the back room while Scooby sniffed the floor near the oven. All the flour and baking powder made him let out a big sneeze. Just as Scooby sneezed, a big flour sack in the corner jumped. Frowning, Scooby tiptoed to the sack of flour. He sniffed at it. Then he poked at it with his paw. Nervously, Scooby untied the top. Zoinks! Cried Shaggy, leaping all covers and flowers. Don't hurt me, Mr. Phantom Cowboy, sir. Scooby's hair stood on end. Ruh-roh, Raggy's a roast. After much yelling and jumping, Scooby realized it was really his friends, not a ghost. They were so happy they hugged and danced around, getting flour dust everywhere. All right, you two, Daphne said, pointing to the nearby water trout. Time to clean up. Scooby and Shaggy happily agreed. Then they ran back to the bakery. There was leftover cakes, pies, and other goodies in there. Man, there's nothing like some good eats after you've had the wit scared out of you, Shaggy declared, chomping on a bagel. Rory, right, agreed Scooby, between bites of cake. Huh. Well, it looks like everyone's back to normal, Fred grinned. Now let's find those ghosts. But they didn't have to find the ghosts found them. Out of the darkness emerged the scary rider on the fearsome buffalo. The kids barely dodged out of the way before the ghost thundered past. Then the cowboy turned his mount around and headed back for another charge. The gang ran for it. Ha 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 ha! Cackled the cowboy as he rode down the main street of Phantom Gulch. I'll give you one more chance to leave this place. Now go. Then the ghost disappeared again. Well, it's gonna take a lot more than that to scare us, Daphne frowned. Right, guys? Like, I don't know, Shaggy began. Right, agreed Fred. Let's see if we can follow these buffalo tracks. We need to catch those ghosts when they're not expecting us. Zoinks, groaned Shaggy. I was afraid you were going to say that. Scooby nodded miserably. Re-row. The buffalo tracks led the kids out of town and down a dusty road. After a while, they spotted a campfire burning on a hill. When they got close enough to a good view, they realized the campfire wasn't on a hill. It was built inside a hill. Huh. Interesting. Man, what a crazy apartment, Shaggy said. That's a pueblo, Shaggy, Velma explained. Certain Native American tribes used to build pueblos to live long ago. It looks like our ghost friend has moved in, Fred said. Let's see if they're up for some company. Long ladders were leaning against the side of the pueblo, so the gang had an easy time climbing up. Fred peeked into the apartment. No one was in sight. He mentioned the others forward. When they were all inside, the gang spread out, searching for clues. Velma found an old mural painted by elders of the tribe that had once lived there. This is fascinating, Velma told the gang. The mural tells of the coming of the settlers and the extinction of the buffalo. According to a legend, a mighty phantom will rise up with his ghostly buffalo and curse the descendants of the settlers forever. But if this cowboy is a ghost, why does he need a campfire at night? Fred pondered. Something doesn't add up. Like, who cares? Shaggy was hugging Scooby tightly. Now that we know the Phantom Cowboy and his creepy critters are the cursors, let's fly the coop before we become the cursees. Yeah, Scooby nodded. Too late, bellowed a booming voice. The ghoulish cowboys and his stampeding, snorting buffalo sidekick appeared out of nowhere. As quick as a wink, the gang scrambled back down the ladder to the bottom of the pueblo. They thought they lost the ghost duo, but all of a sudden the ghost appeared from behind a huge boulder. And the chase was on again. Back through the desert, the cowboy chased them, back through the town of the Phantom. Glutch, he rode after them, laughing, whooping, and hollering all the while. In fact, the ghost didn't let up until they chased the kids all the way back to the mystery machine. When he thought he was finally scared the gang away, the cowboy reared up on his buffalo and rode off in a cloud of dust. But Fred and the girls weren't about to give up so easily. There were going to be a logical explanation for this Phantom Cowboy mystery, Velma exclaimed. The only way we'll get to the bottom of this is by catching the ghost. I've got an idea. How? Fred declared. He looked at Shaggy and Scooby. Of course, we'll need some bait. Like, no way, Fred, Shaggy cried. I've had my fill of creepy cowboy curses for one night. Right, Scooby stuck out his tongue. Really? Cowboy Roses. After several minutes of wrangling for Scooby snacks, Shaggy and Scooby agreed to help catch the ghost. Velma and Daphne took them back to the tailor shop and dressed them up like old Western lawmen. While Fred and the girls went to set up the trap, Shaggy and Scooby went to look for Phantom Cowboys and his buffalo. The two ghosts had set up in camp in the desert right out of the town. Taking deep breaths for courage, Shaggy and Scooby moseyed right up the campfire. Howdy, Deputy Schubert. Do y'all see what I see? Shaggy said in his best cowboy voice. A couple of mangy vermins having a wee roast with a campfire permit. I think we should run these rascals into the pokey, Shaggy continued. Wouldn't y'all agree, Deputy Schobert? Right, Rosy Raggy, Scooby answered. The Phantom Cowboy and his ghost buffalo looked at them in surprise for a minute. Then look of anger came over their faces. They growled and howled, and Shaggy at Scooby. Like, on the other hand, maybe we should just let them go with a warning this time, Shaggy called as he turned and bolted away. Run, Scooby-Doo! Ruh-roh. Scooby cried as he raced away from the campfire. Scooby-Doo and Shaggy fled through the desert over brambles and around big boulders. They tried hiding behind the cacti and running with the tumbleweeds, but no matter what they did, the Phantom Cowboy and his ghouly buffalo stayed right on their heels. Finally, with no other choice left, the two friends started climbing a small hill nearby. But it was no use. The ghost stayed right with them, and Scooby and Shaggy were quickly running out of steam. When Scooby and Shaggy reached the top of the slope, they realized the hill suddenly ended with a sharp drop-off. They were trapped. Oh no, Shaggy cried. This made the Phantom Cowboy laugh with evil delight. I told you all to vamoose from these here parts, the ghost grinned. Now it's too late for you. Like this is it, old pal, Shaggy said to Scooby. Happy trails. Row, row, Raggy. Tears came to Scooby's eyes. Row, 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 row. But just as the Phantom Cowboy and the Ghost Buffalo were about to nab Shaggy and Scooby, the villains fell through a hole in the ground. It was a trap, a hole that Fred, Daphne, and Velma had camouflaged with weeds and grass. The hole was carved into the roof of the pueblo and let the smoke from the campfire drift out. Fred, Daphne, and Velma were waiting underneath the hole with a big net, ready to catch the villains. The Phantom Cowboy and the Ghost Buffalo dropped right into it, as pretty as you please. Now let's see who's behind this mystery. Fred pulled the mask off the captured Phantom Cowboy. It was Mr. Parker. He had been pretending to be the Phantom Cowboy all along. The Ghost Buffalo had actually been his ordinary horse in disguise. Mr. Parker scares away all the people in Phantom Gulch so that he could buy the property real cheap, Velma explained as state troopers arrived to take Mr. Parker away. Then he sold the town for a huge profit to a big company that wanted to build an even bigger Western amusement park. I would have got away with it too if it weren't for you meddling kids and your dad-burned dog, sneered Parker. Once the judge finds what Parker did, the town will revert back to the rightful owners, Daphne said, smiling. Wow. They solved the mystery, boys and girls. Not too long after the townspeople who worked at Phantom Gulch returned to their old jobs, soon visitors started coming back to the town. It was lively. Old Western tourist attraction again. We couldn't thank you enough for this mystery in saving Phantom Gulch, said Sheriff Matt. Gratefully, you kids are real Western heroes. Like shucks, Sheriff. It were nothing ain't real Western heroes could have done, Shaggy declared, as long as they had a partner like Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Dooby-Doo! I hope you enjoyed the Phantom Cowboys, boys and girls. See you soon.